So happy to be here with these two ladies. Now, Tracy Hiner I've known for 10 years, and it's been an absolute thrill to see her business grow and thrive. And we have the Rudin brothers here tonight, and Tracy has just launched with a Rudin in New York, and soon to be launching here in LA, so we're really excited about that. So you'll have to look for her wallpaper there. But it's really been an honor and a pleasure to be a part of your journey and see all your growth. And Ariel and I met earlier this year, and I wanted her to be a part of this conversation because of how she structured her business. So, and I was just really inspired by it. So before we dive in, I want to give a very heartfelt thank you to Andy and Sally Hirschberger for being such wonderful hosts and giving us. Thank you. Such a great space to be in. I just have one ask of everyone here. If you find tonight helpful, if this information you think is valuable, talk about it to your friends, invite a woman next time, because the more people we can reach and bring together as a community, the more power we have to sort of help one another. So I hate doing introductions, even though I sort of did a little one. So I would love it if you both would just give a quick introduction about who you are and the work that you do. Tracy, would you like to go first?
Okay, I'm Tracy Hiner. I have a company called Black Crow Studios, and we do this very art-driven mural-style wall coverings that myself and a few people that I work with, we all create. And so it's all created by someone. It's not like computer generated, and then we put it out onto wall covering and make these gorgeous installations.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm Ariel Johnson. I'm the founder and principal of Ariel Fox Design. We are an interior architecture and design firm in Sherman Oaks, celebrating 10 years this year. Thank you. We've always been all women operated, and as we grow, we're now at 15. That is becoming now a thing. It never really was a thing, but there's a lot of heart and purpose behind it, and there's been kind of this social experiment in the workplace that I'm kind of excited to share with you guys tonight.
All right, thank you. So, you know, in your businesses, you both have had what I see as the courage to stand for something, which I find lacking a lot in the business that we're in, like seeing people actually stand for something. And Tracy, with you, both with your brand positioning, you know, because I think one of the things that I love about you is, you know, you go to your landing page and it's this beautiful quote, you know, and then you talk about yourself being a rebellious sort of wallpaper company. And you also have a social good arm with the Raise the Caliber collection, which I found out recently Tracy is going to be growing, which is really exciting. And then Ariel, you talked about a little bit already, you know, how you've created this business where you have, it's an all-woman staff, and you've sort of set boundaries about, you know, yes, who you're going to hire and who you're going to give preferential treatment to. So I'd love to hear from you both a little bit about your journey and what got you to the points that you are with your business, and understanding this is what you wanted to stand for. How did you know it was the right course of action, and how did you know where to start? Would you like to take this one first?
Sure, yeah. I started the firm in 2008, and some of you can remember that was a devastating time in the interior design world. I was kind of challenged, kind of in a way fresh out of design school. I had a little bit of time at a hospitality firm, was laid off, and I was like, well, I could sell furniture, or I could really hustle and try to make this thing happen. I ended up selling furniture for 2 months at HD Buttercup. It was actually a great experience. I realized I'm a really terrible salesperson. And I got lucky enough to really meet some great developers. And I just kind of want to paint this picture of, you know, for me, it was, you know, I lost my, you know, I was leaving a marriage, I had no money, no one was hiring, I lost my apartment, and it was at the I was at the bottom of the barrel, you know, I didn't think anything was working in my favor. And that's kind of when, you know, the script shifted, and I got a great opportunity and worked with a developer. And, you know, there's been talk in the industry of, oh, you know, the market's going to crash again. We can't keep keeping up at this rate that we're going. And I had a great conversation with my financial planner, and he was like, all right, let's talk you down from this like fear platform, right? Like, what were you doing in 2008? Okay, it was only a one bad year. In truth, it was one bad year, and then we were kind of building and recuperating. And then what happened to your business in 2009? I was like, oh, all the developers started buying all of the really cheap real estate, and they started building and developing. I was like, we actually really kind of need a healthy downturn. And this idea of like fear doesn't do any of us any good. And I'm kind of like going off on a tangent right now, but I guess like the core of my concept is, you know, when you're in your deepest fear, to really just trust in yourself, you know, and know that the next steps are going to be there for you. You may not know exactly what they're going to look like, that they're surprises. They're really awesome surprises.
Okay, I want to ask another question, because I think what you're talking about again, like, how do you do that, right? So you're in your deepest fear.
Yeah.
And like, where do you think those tools came from for you to be able to say, you know, I am going to believe in myself and the vision I have for what I want to build? To me, I was like, I don't have any other choice. I'm just going to take one action and follow it up with another action. It wasn't even like I had this grand vision. It was, you know, I need to pay the bills, and I get really excited and I love my work, and I just want to find a way, you know. It was like, how can I just find a way to keep doing what I love to do? And this idea of failure, I think, really wasn't in my consciousness, because I had already, like, in my mind, I'd already failed. Like, I had already failed in a marriage. I already failed at that hospitality job. I already failed at not getting hired at X, Y, and Z firm. So I had nothing to lose. So I think that was, for me, like the magic sauce, was like, I really had nothing left to lose at that point. Okay, so can you talk a little bit about the decision to have the all-woman female staff?
Yeah. I'm one of 3 girls. My mother is one of 8 girls.
Wow.
Wow. Strong feminine energy in my family. Which is why I ended up having a son. I'm like, you're a unicorn. I don't know what to do with you. So in the beginning, it was more of just like a comfort level. You know, I love women. And I had some experiences kind of coming up in the industry where I had female bosses that were really, really tough on me. Like, more challenging, I think, than anything else. And in that moment, I thought to myself, well, if I ever get the opportunity to lead, I'm going to do this differently. You know, this isn't like some sorority that we're pledging where, you know, we all have to haze each other. You know, like, just because I suffered X, Y, and Z doesn't mean, you know, you have to suffer. And we're all kind of like suffering in some shape or form, right? That is like the Buddhist definition of life, right? Like, life is kind of suffering. So, and that's not to say that's a bad thing. I think that there's a lot of like purpose and use that comes with that. But for me, my relationship to women was, I want to be the moon to you, right? This idea of like, I'm not going to be your sun and your center, but I'm going to reflect back to you what you are. And I think when you get that mirrored reflection, when you have someone who's like in partnership with you that's like, I believe in you, like, let me show you how awesome you are, like, as a team leader, that just kind of took it to the next level, you know, to be kind of humble in a leadership position that way and say, I'm going to celebrate you, you know, as a junior designer, as, you know, project manager, as my purchasing agent. Like, I'm celebrating you because you're the lifeblood of the business. And that has just been really interesting to be in that perspective. Yeah.
I also find it really interesting because it's like, you know, you, like you said, you worked for another firm, you had recently out of school, that you were able to develop those skills to be that kind of leader without, like, learning from the mistakes of others, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But that's really extraordinary. So I'm like, are you hiring? That sounds great. Hi, you can be my mirror. All right, Tracy.
What was the question?
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Okay. So, how did you know that the positioning for your company was right for you? And how did you know where to start?
Oh, I did not know any of those things. I kind of similarly, I was working for a company that did artwork for the interior design trade. And I could either, in 2008, same thing, they freaked out and were like, we're moving to Florida. And I was like, oh shit, like I don't want to move to Florida. Sorry, I'm allowed to cuss.
Yeah, of course you are. This is not network TV.
But it was like small town Florida, and I grew up in Texas, and it's like the South, and I was not interested. And so I was kind of like, I had actually presented the idea of the wallpaper that I now do to this company that I was working for, and was like, I have this really fucking good idea, and I think you guys should do it. And they were like, that's cute, go back to work. And so that just had kind of like sat in the back of my head for like a year. And then they were like, we're moving to Florida, you can move to Florida, or you can lose your job. And I was like, I get unemployment if I lose my job? And so I took the unemployment, and I and my entire family, they were not thrilled with that. They were like, what are you doing? And I just had the idea for it, and I spent $100 and made a website. I bought a template. I mocked up some fake interiors with the designs, the ideas that I had, and I just put it out there, and nobody liked it. Nobody. I was like, oh, I made a big mistake. I can't pay my bills, I can't do anything. But I was still getting those checks because unemployment was really generous at that time. And it lasted for a really long time. And so I started trying to like other things. I started trying to do other design. I was like, oh crap, like my idea is terrible. I should do something else. So I started trying all these other things. And then I got really confused as to like, because I didn't really like those things and nobody else seemed like those either. I don't know, I just trying to like follow what was happening in interior design, and it turned out that was like not the thing to do. And I eventually was like, once again, like fuck it, I'm gonna do what I think, what feels really good in my gut, and I know this is a good idea. Like I just know it. And that's like the watercolor series that now is like, has been selling like crazy forever, and it's still going, like it just grows every year. But like there was like a good 2 years that nobody understood it. They didn't like it, they didn't get it, nobody was biting. And I just kind of, and then I started weeding out all those other ideas because I was like, I know this is the one, like I just know it. And so I just kept with it, and then eventually it was published. Like my first real install was published in National Magazine. And I had never even installed that wallpaper before, ever. And nobody knew that. I kept that a secret, but that's what happened.
Was that the gray?
That was the Greystone Mansion.
With the Cuff Home, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so that was kind of like my first, where like the installer was calling me like, I don't know how to do this, and I was like, I don't know either. And so we both just kind of like faked it. Like she told the designers that she knew what she was doing. I told them I knew what I was doing, and we just made it work. And then, you know, a few months later, it was like nationally, you know, it was in Lux Magazine. And then right after that, another show house I did where they didn't know that I didn't know what I was doing as well, was published in Traditional Home. And then it just started, like all of a sudden, everybody thought the watercolor stuff was brilliant. And so it was just really like, I really kind of started deviating from that path because I didn't know, like I started not trusting myself. And so when I kind of was like, screw it, like none of that is interesting to me. I want to do this. I know it's a good idea. Once I kind of got back on that path, it all started to change.
Yeah. Well, for me, I work with a lot of different brands and designers, and one of the things that I try to do is get them on the path that you're on, right? Mm-hmm. So that, again, you're creating from your core, you're really listening to your gut, because I think there are a lot of mistakes that can be made by, like, following the market instead of being a market leader. Mm-hmm. And, like, you created something that didn't exist before.
Yes. So it was kind of a weird, like, I didn't really know much about interior design. I didn't really follow any of it. I'd been doing fashion before I kind of ended up at that art company. And so I didn't really understand any of it. I just had this idea, and I actually thought that I was the first person who ever thought of doing mural wallpaper. And then after I launched, I was like, oh, people do this, okay. But like, it really was not on my radar. And so but it wasn't being done in like a high-end way, except like the very fancy hand-painted things from France and stuff. But doing like digital printing, I kind of like learned that from that company I was working for, and I bought one of their printers when they were moving. And so I just kind of was like, I think this is a good idea. But it was not really in the high-end industry at all. And so there was nobody to really look to except like muralsyourway.com, which is terrible. But so I kind of just like made it up, and I just kept putting it out there, and now there's a ton of people that have like followed right behind. And I know that someone would have done it if it wasn't me, but I kind of like, I did it. Like I don't know if there was someone before me. I don't know who it was, because I didn't know who they were.
Right.
But now there seems to be quite a few.
You created a trend, I think. So as I said before, not everyone operates their businesses this way. In fact, I think there are very few, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation with you guys, because I think, to me, I was so attracted, to both of you, because you really do stand out in the marketplace to me. So I'm wondering, like, what quality, skill, or character trait, do you think you have or possess that have caused you to sort of structure your businesses this way? Ariel, do you want to?
I think you have to be like somewhat crazy to start your own business.
Yeah.
Like for me, I was just so desperate.
I was the same. It's
desperate.
desperation.
Yeah, desperation.
Like no safety net.
Yeah.
And just like, you got to make it work, or it's like, I don't know what else you do.
Yeah.
Like there was no one to lean on for me.
And also too, like I was commenting on Tracy's jewelry, that there is this like warrior spirit that I feel like you have to really like bring forth every day, because it's like it's in that like the minutia of the day that you kind of have to just like, I feel like sometimes I've got like a like blade and I'm just going through the jungle, like, okay, we can do this one more day. Yeah. Anyway.
What do you think, again, so sort of feeding into what you just said, like, what are the biggest struggles for you guys in sort of staying on the path? Like, do you still have times where you get confused, Tracy, and like maybe feel like you stray from your...
I definitely do. I'm like, my gut's really in tune with like what I should be doing, and I don't always listen to it. And every time I don't, it comes out that like it was the wrong choice to make. And there's always like little red flags, waving, and I'm like, it's cool. But yeah, at times I do find that I can kind of like start looking too much into what other people are doing. And so honestly, I just block it all out. I don't look at any other wallpaper. I don't look at interior design stuff. I don't read the magazines. I don't look at any of it. I just stay with like whatever it is that I'm absorbing through just living life, that's manifesting in whatever way it then comes out. That's what I stick with. And every time I try to go off of that and do like, I think this is a good idea, it is not a good idea. And so like I said, I still do it, and then I'm like, yeah, all right, listen to your gut. but it's just, that's what it is.
Right. That kind of plays into this my next question is about like when opportunities come, and is there a system or a checklist that you go through to ensure that the opportunity is in line with the core values of your company, and how do you know what to say no to?
Yeah. No is a full sentence. And I think that is another key to being, to creating from your core, right? I had a very hard time saying no. I still do. I think being a woman, we're kind of like, in a way, almost genetically, like predisposed to being, yes, I will figure that out. I will take care of it. Don't worry, I got this, right? and you can't do it all. And I think there was a huge breaking point, a significant change in my business when I had my son. He came early. I had a C-section. Like all of my plans went to hell. I remember it was kind of like waking up from like the surgery, like on my texts and clients being like, "Why is this couch blah blah blah?" And I'm like,
they're still putting stitches in me right now.
Yeah. That was like my aha moment where I was like, nope, not doing that anymore. Like just that gut of like, no, I'm done with this. And so it was this like re-navigating of like, how do I structure communication with my clients? How do I give more responsibility to my team? How do I let go of things so that I can have some sanity, and then I can put my phone away at night and I can be with my child? That was like my whole thing. It's just, how can I spend some quality time with my child and still operate a business? And my business exploded at that point.
Right.
I went from like 5 projects to like 30, literally in like a year. It was weird. Yeah.
And you probably felt, I'm assuming, because I have a couple people who work here for me, and I'm a little bit of a control freak sometimes, so, it's it's, okay. It's hard, like, letting go of things, and I want to say last year, I think I made the commitment to like, I need to say no more. I'm still working on it. I'm getting better though. Yeah. Because I know what you're saying is true, and that I have a tendency to say yes to, and I don't mean just work stuff, I mean even personal stuff, and it's like all of a sudden my calendar is so full and I am so burnt that I need to take a week off just to like recover from my last 2 weeks. So it's like, that sounds crazy, but like, yes, learning to manage so that I actually have the energy to be creative and do the work that I really love, and realize what kind of environment I need to create for myself to do my best work. Because I don't feel good when I'm not producing things that I'm proud of, or settling for working on a project that isn't really the kind of work I want to do. So, yeah, saying no. Does anybody here in the audience have a problem saying no? I see some man hands going up too, so it's nice to know we're not the only ones that struggle with that. Yeah. Okay. What about, okay. So, next question. In the middle of lists of things to do, client calls, emails, and just the busyness that comes along with running a business, how do you stay centered, gain focus, stay focused, while also staying connected to your core values?
You're looking at me.
I am, because you made a major life change this year, which I think has helped.
Well, oh my gosh, yes. There's one thing that kind of talked about saying no. It's like, I always have to remind the girls that work for me, because we're always trying to like accommodate people's crazy deadlines and weird things, and I forgot to order this, and like, okay. That it's wallpaper. Like, it is not important in the grand scheme of life. Like, if it ships a day late because someone didn't order and they're trying to get it in a week, like, you know, it's fine. Like, it is just wallpaper. But I have to constantly remind my team of that because they want to try to accommodate everything. And even today, that was happening, where it was like, yeah, we told them we needed the payment 2 weeks ago to meet this deadline, and we got it today. So they cannot have it on Friday. Sorry. But it's just, it is what it is. And so it's very, like, it's a constant thing to have to, like, kind of keep everybody on that task. And then, you know, I totally made a huge life change for myself. And so I bought a house in the desert. And I go there I spend more time in the desert than I do here working. Like, I come in, I grind out my work 3 days a week, and I bail. Like, Wednesday evening, I'm gone. And I relax, and I don't think about work. I turned off all my notifications. Nothing dings, nothing does anything ever. If you don't get an email back from me, it's because, I don't know, you emailed me. And it's the most liberating thing ever. But like, when I go there, I just stop. I mean, I do a little bit of work, but I try to make it so minimal and so not invasive to my life. And I try to really connect with myself. And I'm trying to create a little bit of an oasis there, and that's where I do my creative work. And I do my business work when I'm in my office doing my business. And I try to really keep it separate. It's hard, it's very hard. But I'm trying to, like, really set that schedule that, like, doing payroll and doing emails and all this stuff only happens during these hours. And then after that, unless it's an emergency, it can wait till next week. And that's kind of the way I do that. I don't know how well it's working, but I think it's working pretty well for me.
Have you found your creative do you find more joy in the creative process or more productivity in the creative process now that you've separated the two?
I find, I don't know, the creative process is a beast. I don't know. It's always like this changing target that I'm trying to, like, hit. But I feel like the pressure of all the minutia of work, of running a business, of all the stuff that can just weigh on you, I have to put it aside, and I can't if I'm in, like, I started a studio so I would have a place to go do my creative work, and then it became business, and I can't do it at all there. Like, I cannot at all. So now I've created this new space. We'll see if I can do it there. But I do like just trying to keep it very separate. I think that it lets me focus on that and lets me kind of get into tune with, like, that gut feeling that, like, what am I going to work on today? What I do, and I can set everything out, and I can have stuff painted in every room and in the garage and everywhere, and just laid out everywhere, and I can really kind of just, like, step into that and leave everything else behind. And then I go hiking and sit in the sun and enjoy the beautiful day, and never ever, I have a room where my computer is, where I can do, like, that more business work, and I just, like, never go in there. And it's liberating.
Well, I think what you're talking about, though, is so important, and it's not really talked about or taught. You know, it's really like, oh, I just got to keep working. I just got to da. But I think it's so important. And I am not the best at doing it either. You know, I mean, I feel guilty at times. You know, I'm getting better at this though too. You know, when I get stuck on an issue, I know it. I'm not going to sit here at my computer and solve this problem. That's not how not just drilling away and pushing through it is not going to help me. What is actually going to help is if I go and take a 20-minute walk. Because usually that's when the answer comes. But for some reason,
I need, like, a
feels
3-day,
really guilty.
like a 3-day
taking that
space to figure out the
Yeah,
answer.
I do the same thing. Is on Fridays, we have half days on Fridays.
Ooh.
Weekends.
I'm serious, are you hiring?
Yeah.
Listen, my
love to
kid
talk
doesn't work at
about
all
this.
on Friday.
Oh, shit!
Yeah. Amp it up.
Yeah. Like, have your 2.5, 3 day, but my phone is off. I am not taking a phone call. I am not taking an email. Like, there could be some serious whatever going on. I have no idea until Monday morning.
Good for you.
But, like, my clients, you know, like, you train
it's
people.
just wallpaper. You
Train
have whole,
people.
like, projects going on. I'm
Yes.
just like, you don't need your wallpaper. It's fine.
But I train my clients, I
Yeah.
train them to know. I mean, it also helps too being in the commercial world, like it's more corporate, kind of 9 to 5. But I think that there's a heaviness that comes with the responsibility of running a company.
Mm-hmm.
It can really weigh on you. And I was thinking about that on the drive over here. Is how do I lighten that load? How do I alleviate that on my spirit? And I've taken that same, it's so funny, I never knew that, but we've taken that same route, which is I'm disconnecting and I am just going to my joy, which is, for me, playing with my 4-year-old. Like, we'll go to the zoo, we'll play outside, we'll build things out of Play-Doh and Legos, and like, I literally become a 4-year-old on the weekends. I'm activating such a really like authentic joy in that. And so then when I get back to work, my creative spirit and juices are just kind of like flowing and loose and playful and joyful. Yeah.
You just touched on something really important, I think, which again is counterintuitive and again something that would make me and has made me feel guilty. Although, even though I know with all of the educating I've done with myself in terms of like, how do you get the most creative sort of bang out of yourself? You have to integrate play into your life to be more creative. Play is a big part of it. That helps fuel creativity. I like to go to Coney Island and ride the Cyclone.
You were so brave.
It's the most awesome thing in the whole world. But I also want to talk about, too, how you both obviously have trained your clients, because I think this is something that a lot of designers struggle with, especially in the residential world, is how do I get them to not call me at 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday?
Don't respond.
Yeah, right? I have, underneath my email signature, I have a few lines of text that say the following. I love email, but if you need an answer on something today, call me. Here's my phone number. If you can wait a day, send me a text. If 2 or 3 days is okay, email's great. But because I do not want to be a slave to email, because it literally eats my soul.
Yes.
I just can't do it. And I really limit my time on email. I mean, I try to limit it. I probably, spend an hour maybe on email a day. That's it. And I really also set up my day to make sure, my mornings are focused on what do I want to get done today, and what are the 3 most important things that this will be a successful day if I get it done. And then the email comes after that. Because I think if you start with the email, nothing ever gets done, and you don't get to do any of the work that you really want to do. Anyway, that was my tangent. Okay, so my last question, then I'm going to open it up to the group here. If you had to give us all one piece of advice on one thing we could start doing tomorrow to integrate the idea of creating from our core, into the work that we do, what would that be?
Don't look at me. To me, the piece of advice is more I think, at least I know, and so I assume that everybody knows this, that kind of what you're good at. It just feels like, I know this shit. I'm good at it. I know you feel it through your whole body. And to dig into that, dig deeper into it, go further with it, push it harder, and believe in it. Just fucking believe in yourself. That's my brilliant advice.
Well, it's funny because our last talk was all about confidence and the importance of confidence. I don't know if any of you were there from Tony Purry from My Hype book. If you guys have not seen the book, it's amazing. It's a workbook that you actually work through that helps you build your confidence and become your own hype man. So
I think confidence is
yeah.
I've told you
Yes.
that
Yes.
I don't know where it came from, but I was instilled with a very ridiculous amount of confidence in myself. And so I don't have a lot of like that voice like kind of telling me like, oh, you're not good enough to do this or whatever. Like I'm like, I got this.
Awesome.
I got this. Like I got it. But I do every now and then let like, you know, the like, do I got it? I don't know. Like nobody, I don't know. But because it feels weird to have that kind of confidence in yourself, which is so bizarre that like most of us are raised to not feel that way. And so it's just always like when it comes to like what I do, I know when I've got it. I know when I've nailed a project. I know when I've got like something figured out, or when I was doing the caliber stuff. Like I didn't know what I was doing, but when I thought of the idea, I was like, oh shit, this is good. And so I just ran with it. And so I just like, but I know everybody has that in them, I believe. And you just have to really access it and then really grab onto it and hold onto it and believe in yourself.
By the way, can you tell everyone real quick what the Caliber Project is?
So I do this series of photography and wall covering that benefits a foundation called the Caliber Foundation, which helps get guns off the streets of cities that have a lot of high gun violence, and they donate to victims and families that have been affected by gun violence in their communities. And so, you know, that's like, that kind of started, I'm gonna go off a little bit here. I donate 20% of all the sales from that, from the fine art, the wall covering, everything goes to that foundation. And then thinking about this talk, thinking about that, I kind of started that collection. Jenna actually introduced me to the woman that runs it. And when I started that, I was really a little disillusioned with this industry as a whole. Like I felt like nobody gave a shit about what was happening in the world, and it was frustrating. It seemed like I would have these people that were so demanding about wallpaper, and I'd be like, but people are like being shot, or like all these huge things are happening, and I was kind of like, I don't know that I can continue in like such a superficial like existence, because it just felt like very like I loved what I was doing, but it felt so empty. And so she introduced me to this woman. I had no idea why she was introducing us, because I was like, I don't get why, what do I have to do with any of this? And she just kept pushing it, and finally I had the phone call, and I was like, okay, this is what I gotta do. Like, I'm in, 100%. Had no idea what I was gonna do. Ended up making like, you know, a series of photography that I think is really great. And it was very special to me as I was creating it. But now I've been thinking about it again, and I feel like the world's getting crazier, and there's so many causes that I believe in so deeply. And like, I only have so much money. Like, here's my $20 a month to the animal rescue, and here's, you know, to the human rights campaign and all this stuff. And so thinking about this talk, and every year I buy these bottles of champagne, or not champagne, sparkling wine, that are from a company here in the LA area, South Bay area, and they donate, every bottle goes to a different organization, like proceeds to like LGBTQ, animals, environment, everything. And I was like, why don't I do that? Like, I should do that. So just like last week, and I had thought of this a while back, and I was like, I don't have the money to do this, I'm not, like, whatever, I don't, like, that's a lot to commit to. And I was like, you know what, I'd been thinking about that, this talk was coming up, and I was like, well, I don't feel like I do that much. And then I got an email from another organization that was saying that they give whatever amount to something. But what I took from that was, the woman listed a thing that said like, when you give, you receive so much more back. And I was like, well, okay, maybe like I'm not really in a position to just be giving out all my profits to like all these organizations, but maybe if I do, so much more will come back to me. So I've decided that every collection that I do is going to donate to, like, I have a mineral collection coming out like at the beginning of the year. That's going to go to environmental causes. Something's going to go to animals. Something's going to go to LGBTQ. Something's going to go to women's causes. Like, something is going to go to something that I feel passionately about. And if that's national or local or both, like, it's just going to, I just want to make a difference. And I think that, like,
I mean, can we just like, yeah.
So that's all that's what I kind of, I work with different artists and I work showrooms and stuff, and they all get their cuts. This is all from my cut of the leftover money, so it's all just coming out of that. And I was like, either I'm gonna need to do a GoFundMe in a few months and be like, I can't pay my bills, or this is gonna work out. But I do believe that giving, I have often lived in a place of fear financially because I do not have anybody to kind of back me up. If it doesn't work, I don't know what I do. I don't think I get to collect unemployment this time. So, that's always been a big fear of mine, that I won't have enough money to feel comfortable, or I won't have enough money to pay my bills or keep my business going. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna let that fear continue to drive this, drive the car. I'm gonna give, and I hope, I pray it will come back to me.
I think it will. I think it will. Made the way.
Oh man, how do I follow that?
One piece of advice.
Right. One piece of advice. I've gotten so many really good tidbits, but I do love that giving,
Well, I think that's what this idea is too, in a way, creating from your core and figuring out, to me, it's what is the thing that you find yourself talking about again and again? When do you feel yourself get so excited when you talk about this topic? Mm-hmm. And is that a part of my work? And if it's not, how could I make it be? Mm-hmm. That's what I think about. Because I've been in a place where Tracy just spoke about, and I go through it every now and then too, where I'm I don't know if I'm in the right place, because I feel like I need something deeper, which is why I think I'm attracted to people like you too.
Yes.
But I've really, I was working in the rug business for years and miserable until I figured out, oh, I love edgy art. And I love street artists, and I've met a few of them. That's what I want to do. How do I integrate this and that passion into the work I do? And again, very much like you, I was nobody's ever done this before. Most people that I talked to about it, when I was Shepherd Ferry and Retner are going to do rugs, they're who's that? Who's going to want to buy that? Yeah. So I really believe in that, listening to your gut and following the thing that you love. Yeah. And just continuing to ask yourself, how do I make this a part of my work?
Yeah. I think having I hesitate saying spiritual, but a purposeful goal. For me, it was this awakening for women's rights, for women's support. The Me Too movement, all of these things, which have been happening recently, has really ignited me to dig in deeper to what I can do to, lift, our gender up, to support. We're doing 401k in our office. We're doing matching plans. We're doing full ride maternity leave. I pay overtime. You get a salary, but you also get overtime, because I'm if you're here on the weekend or after hours, I value your time. And again, all these things, I'm how am I going to afford this, but that reaffirmation of it's all coming back, because the heart is there, the core is there. I have this idea Jenna knows about of starting a women's co-working space, and that has been a little bit of a heartbreak, because I was pushing and things weren't clicking in as I had envisioned them. And so I'm kind of taking a step back now and saying, okay, I trust that this is going to happen it's not maybe right now, but maybe later. This idea of the magic of timing. And I have to trust that. I've learned over the years that my gut instinct, my gut is saying, I know you want this so badly, but not right now. Just give it a little space. And I'm such an impatient person. I'm one of the most impatient. So for me to have that message in me that's saying just wait, is that is growth. That's kind of almost a growth point for me. But to keep to keep checking in. Yeah,
That's great. Are you a meditator?
I am.
We have a few meditators here. Okay, I would love to. Do we have any questions? Please don't be shy. Yes.
I actually was thinking about confidence today, so it's funny that you brought that up. But I think it's, for me, it's like lately I've just been feeling really burnt out because I feel like it is like a constant grind. Like even if you take time off, it's still sort of like it's always there nagging at you. And I love that you have been able to be like, nope, this is my time. And it doesn't mean I'm not productive. Like I still get shit done, but I can also have a life. And I feel that it is sort of going more towards that, like people are tired of, like we're here to live a life, we're not here to like work ourselves to death. So it's like having that balance and then having, I think it's probably easier for younger people that this is now, they just take that for granted. Whereas like for me, I feel like I'm in this weird in between, like, no, I want to live like a productive life, but then I also want to enjoy it and not feel guilty about it. Like there's that guilt of like, I really should be working. I'm not working right now. Why am I not working in the middle of the day? You know, like it's totally fine. Like I'm gonna get it done. It's not like it's not gonna get done. And like, why do we feel like it has to be like this is the times we work? And then even though I work really crazy hours, but you know, it's like why is that? Why do I have
And this is this fear-based idea.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing it, someone else is, right? It's like it comes from that fear-based feeling.
No, it's just more, well, I don't know that is, I mean, yes, I'm sure that's, but for me, it's more just like, I'm a loser. I'm not working right now. Or it's like, I don't need to be working right now. Like, what, it's like, which it is fear-based, you're absolutely right. I don't know that I'm afraid someone else is going to be doing it if I'm not doing it. It's just sort of like,
Well,
Or getting that job, or like, you know, like, yeah.
but the list is so long of all the things you have to do all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's never ending. And I have this like planner, and it's got like my 3 things I need to get done for the day. They never get done. And I have like this little, like it's got little things to like defer the task to another day. And I'll defer certain things for weeks. And then you know what, I'm like, I don't need to do it. And it's just gone. But it's like, why did I just sit here and defer that for like, put it every single day that I need to do this.
I do that too.
And you know what? No, I don't even need to do it.
Yeah.
I
Like
think
by
that's
the time I
working-
get to
yeah.
it, like
that's working from, that to me is like really working from your core. Like you do what shows up, what you feel like. If you don't feel like working on something, that's telling you don't work on it.
Yeah.
Now's not the time to work on it.
But it's very hard
Work
to
on
like
it.
actually.
Yeah, you're like, because if I have drawing time, I'm like, no, I have to be drawing right now. I'm like, but I really am not feeling inspired to do it. And I know I'll get it done, but I just don't want to do it right now.
And today it'll be crappy.
Yeah.
Like
so
if I force myself to do it today, it'll be.
but the whole world tells us when you do it and you get it done and you get up early and you accomplish it and then and it's like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. This is funny. I have been organizing my apartment, and I, over the weekend, came across a book that I made. I took this writing class like 10 years ago, and part of the writing class was that we had to create a actual book and make copies of it for everyone else in the class. And so I have my copy and then everyone else's. And I was like, oh, I don't even remember. Like, so I'm looking through it, and I'm like, oh, that's fun. And I wrote this one poem about the to-do list and how, like, the final, like, I'll post it. I'll post it on Women at Work. But the final line was something like, I know my life is supposed to be more than just a to-do list. You know? Because, like, but it is. Like, so how do you know, but I think, again, all this stuff is not taught to us. I think I was calling it counterintuitive, but I do think it's intuitive, but it's us shutting our intuition down in terms of, like, following your gut. Just like you said, working on the things that feel right in the moment, you know. Yes, of course you're keeping track of what needs to get done, but not also being so hard on ourselves. Like, part of this feels like being extraordinarily hard on ourselves, and believe me, I am so hard on myself. It's ridiculous. I'm getting better at that too, but it is a weight that does not need to be there.
A self-imposed weight.
Yeah. And you know, part of Tony's talk last month, she had us all raise our hands, turn it backwards, bend it, and give ourselves a pat on the back. And it was like, how often do we all do that? Like never. Like I rarely celebrate like, oh, it's a really good
But
day.
that's confidence.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking
I
about
sent
today.
that meme.
Yeah,
That was like,
yeah.
you're doing great. Like,
Yes,
like, whatever.
Because there's
Helps.
confidence in knowing you can do something and that you're good at it, and then there's confidence to say, I did that and it's good.
Yeah.
Like those to me are two. That's what I was thinking about today. It's like I can say that I can do something and that it will be good. Like I don't have, but then it would be like to do it and to look at it objectively and go, that was really good. I did that. I did that, and it's really good. Like
Yeah.
that's hard sometimes, I think, and that's confidence. But that's what
Nicer to
confidence is
yourself.
like.
Yeah. No, it's the tapes, right? Those tapes that we play in our heads, and I have made a conscious kind of like retaping in my head when something is feeling difficult, or you know, I'm just like, God damn it, you know, like I will automatically be like, okay, let's play like the nice, be nice to Ariel tape. You know, like I love you. Everything's gonna be fine. You know, it's like my own little like self-help, you know, like book playing in my head, and it sounds so corny, but like it's my blood pressure just drops, and it's like, okay, like it's all really gonna be fine. You know, it's just design, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You know, really.
Nobody is dying over this.
Nobody's
I always,
dying.
yeah, I always say we're not curing cancer here.
No.
Like we're making something pretty.
Yeah, we're making the world prettier.
Which is very important.
It is important.
It is
important.
It's
It
got
is
its
important.
place, but like it's, we're not life and death.
Right.
It's always
But it
been-
does. It is a huge. Like I do want to point out. Like listen, interiors really affect our
Yes.
productivity,
Yes.
our mood. Like they are important.
100%. Yeah.
Right. They're not causing people to like an awful interior. It's not like, you know, going to take someone's life, but
Yeah.
you know, it really. I mean, it might. But. Do we have anyone else have a question or a comment or anything they want to add before we wrap it up?
No, but I do want the name of the sparkling wine company.
Oh well, it's One Hope Wine.
One Hope.
Yeah, they do all kinds of wines, but every different one. And I always buy these glitter bottles. They're all like, I said, you know, like gold or rainbow or silver. And like each wine gives to a different cause. And they list how many things. Yeah. I think they're like Manhattan Beach or something.
That's so great.
But yeah, I was gonna buy the rainbow glitter bottles this year. Last time was gold, the time before was silver. And then yeah. But I was gonna say one thing is like, when I sit here and talk about like I have all this it's not always like, it wasn't that easy. I didn't always like just be like, I don't need to do this task. Like I have people I can defer, like pass things on to. And there were times like years ago where I was up all day long, all night long, trying to get every email answered, trying to like letting people just push me around and like trying to accommodate everybody. And it came to a point where it was just like, I can't fucking live like this, and I have to change this. And as like, you know, and you could kind of put it off on like, I always, now you guys will know my trick, but I say, I have to check our production schedule. And that means like, no, I'm not going to do that at the timeline. I'll get back to you. I need to check with the production team. I set the schedule. Like, I determine what happens. But I'm like, I got to check with our production manager and see if we can squeeze that in. And,
Oh, can I use that?
like, you got to figure that one out. But like, that's, you know, it just kind of like puts it off that maybe I don't always have to be the person that's saying no. I can put it off on someone else that's saying no when it's actually me saying no. If that makes it easier. And it made it easier for me for a long time, and now I can just be like, no, we're not doing that. Sorry. I'm too tired.
You can't rush brilliance.
You can't.
You cannot
I mean-
rush. You cannot rush it. When clients say,
There you
look,
go.
Oh,
if you want
let's
a
hashtag
bad,
that.
if you want a
Yes,
bad
please.
design, I can give you some half baked, you know, in your timeline. But if you want something really extraordinary, you're gonna have to wait for it.
Did you guys write that down? You can't rush brilliance.
That's how
you see that?
Ralph Simmons, he did this whole thing when he left, but I can't remember now where he works. But you just have this whole thing, it's like design doesn't just sprout like a mushroom. It's not like you say, you know, it's like it's a whole process. And it's like people expect it's like, oh, you're gonna get you know, you're gonna have it like that.
I wish.
It's like, it doesn't really look like that.
I'm like, well,
It's more like a
maybe
slow
like,
simmer.
mine's like, well, I've been thinking about this for 6 months. Maybe it'll start happening soon. Like, it'll start coming. I trust it. It'll come when it needs to come.
Yeah.
But I always get distracted by something else. Like I have a project I've been trying to do for 3 years, and it's always like something else comes up that I just get interested in. And I'm like, maybe I'm just not meant to do this one, or maybe it's just 5 years from now. Who knows?
Right. Right. All right, guys. Well, thank you again so much for being here. And again, Andy, thank you so much. Sally Hirschberger for being such an amazing host. And thank you guys for all being here. I hope this was valuable.